Joel Embiid vs Ben Simmons. Who's the DPOY? Let's get into this. This season, the Philadelphia 76ers have taken a huge leap from what they've been previously. For years, they've been quote-unquote contenders, but they never were able to get it done with Embiid and Simmons. But this season seems different. They brought in head coach Doc Rivers, who really seems to be working really well with the Sixers, and getting players like Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons to have seasons of their career so far. One of the main catalysts for why the 76ers are so significantly better this season, and they look like real contenders this year compared to other years where they weren't necessarily, is mostly due to their defense. Both Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons were really good defenders previously, but this season it appears that actually both of them really took their defense to the next level. And when it comes to the Defensive Player of the Year award, both Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid both think they deserve it. Ben Simmons even coming out and saying that he should win Defensive Player of the Year, and it's not even close. And also Embiid also had comments saying that he should win Defensive Player of the Year. But that brings up the question. It seems to be a two-man race between the two, but who should actually win it? When you look at the two guys, they obviously play different roles defensively. Embiid is more of an anchor in the paint when players get by the initial defenders, where Ben Simmons is more of a guy who guards every single position and really leads the defense. Starting with Joel Embiid, when you see Embiid out there, he's really leading the defense as well in his own sense, where if a guy was able to drive past the initial defender, he's a great guy at just blocking shots or even contesting shots enough to where the guy would miss the layup and get stops for his team. It seems like night after night there's always a highlight tape of Joel Embiid's crazy blocks on players, and also him talking trash and completely locking down players and also scoring on them on the other end. Embiid is clearly one of the most dominant players we have in our league at the moment, because of course he does block shots and he blocks them pretty aggressively when you look at the highlights, but on top of that, he's not just a shot blocker. He could also move his feet pretty well, where on some guards Embiid is able to run them off the three-point line and get a chase down block on them, while also being a great intimidator when penetrators come to the basket without fouling, which is key, because there's some guys in the league that can block shots pretty well, honestly, but they foul too much and that gets them in foul trouble and they have to be taken out of the game. But with Embiid, he doesn't necessarily get into foul trouble as often as other players would, especially the amount of times that penetrators get to the basket. Embiid is just such a talented defender in this league. But now moving on to Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons is a guy that can guard all 5 positions, which is an extremely valuable asset to have on a championship team especially. Most of the best players in the NBA are usually two-way wings, and Ben Simmons has the size and defensive ability to guard them every night, so Ben Simmons is always guarding the opposing team's best player. Simmons also has a crazy IQ on the defensive end. When you just watch this guy play defense, he's always switching on to the ball and always knows where the ball is going to be passed, and he gets a tremendous amount of steals doing so. He's always a step ahead of the offensive player, even if the offensive player is a really good facilitator. The fact that Ben Simmons has such an insane IQ level defensively is really one of the biggest reasons why he's so good defensively. But then you look at his physical ability, he's obviously extremely strong, so he can guard players in the post with ease. He's extremely fast, so he can get those poke steals. He also has pretty long arms, so he could also get those steals, and he can also get blocks because he's super athletic, fast, and has long arms, as I said. And when you look at the stats, it supports what I'm saying. He's averaging an incredible 1.6 steals per game, which especially for his size is really good, while also averaging a pretty decent 0.6 blocks per game, so he's really the complete package defensively. And then when you look at the stats of all the top guys when guarded by Ben Simmons compared to their averages, they're all way down when they're guarded by Ben Simmons. He's just so elite defensively. His strength, length, and also speed really frustrates players and makes it really difficult to score on them, because in any way that you could possibly score, he could defend that really well. If your post turnaround fadeaway is your main shot, Ben Simmons could guard that with his strength and athleticism to get a contest on it. If your ability is to drive to the basket, he can use his strength and athleticism to block the shot and also contest the shot. Or if you're a three-point shooter, he can use his speed to get up on you. It's just very difficult to score on Ben Simmons. Obviously, both Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons are extremely talented defenders, and they're both the front frontrunners to win the Defensive Player of the Year award this year. But getting back to the question, who do I think out of those two should win the award? It's a really tough decision because it's definitely extremely close between the two. But if I had to give my opinion and if I had to bet on it, I would probably say that Ben Simmons would win the Defensive Player of the Year, just due to the fact that he's a little bit more versatile on defense and he could really guard the opposing team's best player every night. There's going to be arguments going back and forth, and one night Embiid's going to have crazy numbers defensively, and then his case for Defensive Player of the Year will go up. Then Ben Simmons would have crazy numbers one night and his case will go up. But I think with Ben Simmons, it's just more than the numbers. It is the same way with Embiid, but especially with Ben Simmons, I really think it's just more than the numbers. When you just watch him play defense out there, he's responsible for so many stops and just steals on defense. It's crazy, and the numbers don't always tell the full story with him. But me saying I think Ben Simmons should win the Defensive Player of the Year award this year doesn't mean that I think Joel Embiid is not a good defender or doesn't deserve to win the DPOY, because when you look at the numbers and when you look at the way he plays defensively, he definitely does deserve it. But I just think when there's a guy like Ben Simmons out there and how he's playing defensively, I think he's just a little bit better defensively than Embiid, and he would deserve it more. But I will say it's definitely extremely close, as I said before, and I could easily see it going either way. If Embiid gets it, I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest, because he obviously does deserve it. But that's just what I think at the moment. At this point in the season, I think Ben Simmons deserves it a little bit more than Joel Embiid. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think Joel Embiid should win the Defensive Player of the Year, or do you think Ben Simmons should win Defensive Player of the Year? Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did enjoy, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps me out a lot. Until the next time, peace out, guys.